Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy VI Brave New World mod, version 2.2 RC2, part 5. Last time we did the Lethe River, Ultros, and Edgar Bannon Terra scenario section, and here we are to do the Locke scenario, and we're going to start the Bannon scenario, the Sabin scenario. So one thing they changed here was you can no longer walk across the secret area right here anymore. For the better. It means you have to actually engage with the gimmick. Try to get through this section as quickly as I possibly can. Whoops. I messed up. There's no need to do that because I still have to fight this guy. Now they changed the password choices here. Would have been funnier if the password was actually password. Like a play on words and stuff. Or at least Wild Rosebud or Wild Rose, because of a Final Fantasy II reference. Instead it ends up being Swordfish, which I believe I was told it's an obscure reference to some 90s TV show, something or another. There's a lot of references to things from the 90s, from games to music to TV shows and things like that. Stuff that like the mod creators would have known about and experienced growing up in their era. They're about 10 years or so older than me. This is the kind of stuff that either existed or died out by the time that I was a kid. So, classic no music scene. So here's an example of like the humor they added. I believe the basement was... Nope, we can still go in. I believe it was locked off until this scenario. Boomerang. And I don't like that because, look, it's stuff that you already got. More than likely. I wish it was more exclusive or unique or just better gear. One thing I want to praise the writers for in this mod is the way they handled Celeste. I really liked this line. Not as far as those who'd use their strength to crush the weak. Only a coward would stand by and watch Kefka use people to massacre the people of Doma. Is that what you are? Cowards? Yes, sir, I can sleep for days. Reference to a bridge series of sorts. I think In That Shell was what did that. So, in the original... Okay. I was General Celeste. Now I'm a common trader. In the earlier versions of Brave New World, during the floating continent, Celeste had what they called the emo Celeste scene, where she's basically too hard on herself. So what the writers attempted to do was to give her a little bit more depth of characterization. That was befitting of her internal conflict as a result of not knowing where her true allegiances should lie and what she has been meant for, whether that be to be bred only for war or to have love and companionship. And I think they did a good job for the most part. But there were times in the earlier versions where they just went a little too hard on it, and they rectified it somewhat. Leave the chocobo suit on. More beak. My God. So Celeste, we got that. Yeah, Fairy Charm. It would have been a good idea to put the Fairy Charm in the basement because it allows you to block sleep, which is useful against the boss we will be fighting up here in a moment. If you equip that to Celeste and you get the Ghost Ring from Sapin scenario and do this scenario afterwards, what that effectively means is that in combination with Runic, you basically can't lose the fight. Or it's extremely difficult to. Okay, they counter physical attacks. That is good to know. They counter fight, I should say. Enemies don't counter specific attacks, they counter commands. And if there's a dog by himself when there's no soldier, then they will just run. Black belt, which is sick. Best relic in the game. So here we get some iron equipment for Celeste. We already have the iron shield, iron armor, gives him more defense. I think that's what we're going to do actually. We're going to prioritize defense above all else. And we're going to stick her in the back row. Make her extra tanky. So I didn't bring it up, but I felt it should have been obvious, but equipment in this game is not clear-cut better or worse than one another, with exceptions. So equipping her for defense isn't necessarily better. You could equip her for magic, you could equip her for speed, you could equip her for magic defense, you could equip her for so on and so forth, and no one answer is necessarily better than the other. It just depends on what you want to prioritize and what kind of enemies you're potentially fighting. Now this boss here can be a bit tricky. I'm not going to save state though, I'm going to just chance it. I don't like using save states. I don't like having to click near my cancel record button just to do a save state I probably won't need. Runic in this game is just as good, if not better, than the original version. I would even go as far as to say it's possibly the best secondary support skill in the game. Those being, Morph, Runic, Steel, Bushido, Blitz, etc. It's just so useful. It's even more obviously useful because you can actually tell what spells you're able to Runic. If it has a black, white, or gray dot like that to the left side of the spell, then it can be Runic. So there's some spells that can't be Runic, like Somnambula, as you saw. There's a spell that can't be Runic. You also can't Runic blue magic. Got the magic cube. Magic cube is very good. Gives MP plus 50%, magic evade plus 20, magic plus 4, all very good, very useful stuff. See, I can even put it on lock even though he doesn't have MP right now, if I just want to give him some magic evade. That move is so good. I've actually used Magic Cube as a means specifically in low-level runs to grant magic evade because being hit by magic is just not acceptable at that time. If you wanted to, even if he'd had 0 magic and 0 spells, you could stack 2 magic cubes on top of Cyan of all people, so that his magic evade would be at the bare minimum 40. 40 plus whatever his base magic evade is, which is probably 6 or something. So he'll have at least 46, and it is percentage based for the evades. But it's not perfect because you can go slightly over 100%. But it's close. So 46 magic evade would be something like 42% chance to evade. So you can straight up get like literally like almost a 50% chance to, if you combine that with magic evade from his regular gear, if you had access to it, you could legitimately get a 50-50 shot of just dodging any magic attack with friggin' Cyan. And yeah, his boost to things like stamina and vigor and defense will suffer because of it, but those are already high enough. Do you really need more? There is immense value in mitigating your weaknesses as opposed to simply buffing your inherent strengths. Now, she's in the back row right now, but if you want to, you absolutely can make Celes a physical powerhouse. And she becomes one of the most physically destructive and devastating party members in the game. Celes in this game is built, she's magically good, but she's more of a buffed up jack of all trades. Her magic that's available to her through her espers and through her natural learning is geared more towards a nice spread of things. More healing and defensive stuff than anything else, though. Yeah, counter in this game slaps. I believe counter in this game is affected by your stamina rate. I think there's a base rate, and then increase to your stamina will increase the likelihood of you getting a counter off. So cover counter strategies are absolutely viable. So I think we're set up the way we need to be. I set up in advance thinking about what we would be likely to fight. The only thing I might do is this to give him more defense, even though it'll cut his HP and vigor and stuff. Yeah, we're gonna do that. And then I'm gonna give him Boomerang and an Iron Shield and stick him in the back row. You could argue that I'm taking too much time for precautions and setup, but like the game very much supports smart decision making. So we don't have my tried and true best strategy because we don't have Ghost Ring. But by the way, Tunnel Armor is called Hell Angel in this version. I like this line right here. Watch and see. Do your job and we'll be fine. So she can be like dominant and assertive in some ways, but then because she's a general, she's used to that. But she can also be like hard on herself or submissive and all these other cool things that make her a little more vulnerable. Sometimes I use Slim Jim here, but we won't need it. Trying to beat this boss on NHT or level 3 or level 3 NHT, God forbid, is just absurd. it can be really hard because this is a boss fight where if you do the gimmick correctly, it becomes a joke. But if for any reason you can't use the gimmick and use Runic every turn, you're in for a bad time. So I put him in the back row so that I could get Boomerang off, which does good damage, especially with a crit. So it's worth the trade-off of having him in the back row. So you see he's barely taking any damage at all, and still gets that nice defensive bit. Yeah, he does counter, unfortunately. Fairy Charm also means that if we miss the Runic and get sleeped for whatever reason, Celeste will be completely immune. The only moves he uses are Fire and Sleep for spells. See, now even when he gets hit with that devastating counter, he's not taking much damage at all. In vanilla, this kind of equipment strategy, and like I was watching a guy named Cdog VA play Final Fantasy VI for the Pixel Remaster, his first time playing, and you know, different equipment had different stat spread outs for defense versus magic defense versus evade, but they don't really matter because in the original version, first off, some of these stats like evade don't even work, and when they do work, the lack of difficulty means that any sort of like counterplay or preparation is just kind of pointless. You may as well just use Optimum and equip the best thing, but the Optimum ability is actually disabled in this mod. But in Brave New World, it's actually worth the consideration for what is more valuable at a given time, to the point where if you don't pay attention to that, you're going to have a very bad time. And I think that's why a lot of people who were used to playing vanilla would say that the mod was too hard, because they expected to be able to brute force the game by just playing it like every RPG. Because really, when you think about it, most mainstream casual RPGs are like that. It's very common for either stats to not work, or they do work, but the actually bothering to pick and choose your setups don't matter that much. Here they absolutely do. So we're going to go ahead and get Shadow here. Shadow has been... I definitely should have taken the time to discuss more characters in depth up to this point. Shadow up to this point has been overhauled to be even better than the original game, in my opinion. He's actually the highest DPS character in the game. But he suffers, and he's also the fastest. But he suffers in a lot of other ways. For starters, you have to buy a lot of his... items, like always. Let's get dual Spirit Claw. Holy damage may cast slow, may counterattack. So Sabin's, one of his major changes is that his claws have been given more of a Yang from Final Fantasy IV treatment, where they have varying elemental procs and damage types. Oh, make counterattack. They changed that. That wasn't there before. But now you can, with Shadow Shurikens, you can actually spread them with L or R. That's cool. I didn't realize they changed that. So he doesn't even need the black belt. I could do all that. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Dual Knight's Cape. So dual placing relics seems redundant because he's not going to get an increase to his HP because it does not double apply. And he can't guard allies twice, but doing so means I can increase things like his vigor and his speed. Look at his evade, it's 58 now. And evasion is definitely something you want on Sabin. We're actually going to give him this. That'll increase his defense. Back row him. That move absolutely smacks. So this would have been the perfect time actually to show shurikens being split. You can basically L and R toggle shurikens like a spell, so you can either concentrate on one target or you can spread them and have them deal less damage but hit all targets. And that makes shuriken a lot more useful. So now he effectively has two different variations of counter. That's sick, dude. Holy shit. This character did not need to be any better. Sabin is hands down the best character of Brave New World in the early game. Hands down. It's not a contest. He's actually stupid. In the next video, I will talk more about individual characters and some of their differences, because that's actually something I've yet to do. I should have done that, but I was too busy being distracted by all the other things. But I think the best time to... What I'll do is I'll talk about Sabin, Shadow, Cyan, and Gau in this scenario. And then when I get to the Narshe, once I select my teams, I'll talk more about Terra, Locke, Celes, and Edgar. But yeah, we're going to call it for the video here. Next time I'm going to try and finish Sabin's scenario.